So that's your business. That's what you got to focus on. So now let's talk about the actual approach to expireds. The approach is actually pretty simple. It is not too complicated. I'm not saying it's easy. This business is by no means easy.
Right.
But then again, what business is where you can make 100 grand your first year? You know?
Yeah.
So you want to start with the call. The purpose of the call is super simple. You want to figure out if the property has been relisted. So if you have the number and you can't call them, call them. If you don't have the number or you cannot call them, don't call them. It's fine. You still have a lead. The only difference is you have a potential lead versus the actual lead. And the only difference is with some you will have a conversation, with some you will not. But that's the first step, is to get them on the phone so you can determine. So you don't want to waste time and resources on somebody who has relisted and or sold.
Right.
Yeah? So that's the first step. So you're going to identify a set of potential leads. You call those that you can. The rest you're going to put on the rest of the system. So walk me through the system. What do you do now? How do you handle the expireds now?
Well, when I subscribe to Redx, I'll go in and actually go into the actual settings itself. It allows you to locate by area. And so I'm trying to stay within about an hour 15 range of where I am at. Mm-hmm. And that's as far out as I guess I'm willing to go now. From that, I've noticed that a lot of them do come up on the do not call list. And so that's, I guess, been the biggest obstacle. Exactly how to route to either go door knock them, deliver either a resume or some kind of excuse to go knock their door.
You don't really want an excuse. You want to help them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't look at it as I need an excuse. You don't. You want to figure out if you can help them, if they need your help, if they want to sell, and if you're their best choice, if you're the right choice for them, which is going to be your biggest challenge
right
over the next few months. Not necessarily to demonstrate to the sellers, but to have enough self-esteem and confidence that you are their best choice and not the agent who's been at it for 5 years.
Okay.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
So if they have a choice between you and Susie Seller, why would they choose you? What makes you a better choice? And that's something you need to answer. That's something you need to kind of sort out first on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So that you don't need to sell yourself. This is not about coming up with a clever line. Anybody can do that. But it is more about the internal conviction that you will get the job done, you know how to get it done, and they're in good hands. And the reason I think it's a big deal is because if you don't trust yourself, how are you going to convince the sellers to trust you and your abilities? Make sense?
Yeah.
So what I want you to do is spend a little time doing a little soul searching. What do you bring to the table? What makes you Adan, other than your cool name? That really makes you stand out. Unique. What is it? You know? And that's probably not something, let me just turn this thing on here. Hang on a second. That's probably not something you can just answer right away to me, but you should definitely come up with an answer. It took me a while to sort that out, but I came to the point where I was pretty clear on the inside that I'm a good choice, that I bring honesty and passion and dedication and enough expertise to get the job done. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So sort that out. And I mean, yes, some sellers do want, I'm just turning on the fan here.
No worries.
Hold on a second. There you go. There you go. All right. What you want to, well, give me an idea. What is it that you feel you bring to the table? If the seller asks you, well, Adan, why should we hire you? What is it about you that makes you special or unique? What do you say?
Trustworthy.
Okay.
Knowledgeable in the market.
Okay. Do you know the market well? Yes.
Yeah, I consistently study what's coming out new, what's selling. That's something that I've made a homework for myself to do.
Good. That's one of the core capabilities you must have, is to know the market really well. Know the pricing, know the schools, know the areas, know the neighborhood, what makes them unique, what makes one property sell faster than other because of location, that kind of stuff. So that's fantastic. That's excellent. What else?
I work as, I guess, a part of a team as well.
Okay.
So the feeling that you're not relying just solely on one person as well.
Mm-hmm. Good.
You have this sense of unity. Anything can happen. There's always somebody else in case of an emergency. You know, life happens all the time.
Sure.
So there's always set relationships that we can rely on.
Excellent. Good. That's exactly what I'm talking about, where you can confidently look seller in the eye and say, I can get the job done. You're in good hands with me. I can be trusted. Now, you don't need to say that, but that needs to be the message. And more importantly, that needs to be your core belief. Make sense?
Right.
All right. So some expireds you can call, some you cannot. Those you cannot, go through the system. So the system is pretty basic. Well, it's not basic, but it's not too complicated. Step one, go visit them if you can. The trick there is find the window where you have the best chance to reach them at home.
Okay.
See what works for you. It varies from area to area, different socioeconomic groups, different people, sometimes two working people, husband and wife both working, you know, it just depends.
Right.
But you want to find the window where you have the best chance to reach somebody at home. It is good to have the expired package. Just do it. The trifold brochure, you know, the stuff that goes into the package.
Right.
Just follow that. But that alone, you can just mail. The idea is to hand it to the seller while you're having a conversation with them. That's your objective.
Okay.
Okay. So during that conversation, you want to ask a few qualifying questions. You want to figure out what is it they're trying to do. Are they still interested in moving? Would they still be open to the possibility? And then one of three things will happen. Either you set up a listing appointment, and occasionally, and this happens rarely, but sometimes it does, where you know how you can click with somebody.
Right.
And they start asking, well, what's our next step? What do we do next? So be open to it. It can happen. But if it doesn't, you're not screwing it up. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just a process. And the process really is all about trust, building enough trust and demonstrating that you are the best choice, most competent, most high status agent they can pick. Okay? So you have the conversation. Either you set up an appointment, you drop them where you're absolutely clear these people are not going anywhere. They're not motivated. They don't want to move, which is hard to determine on the first meeting. Even those who tell you they're not very often are just trying to hide it because they got beat up by salespeople.
Okay.
Third possibility is you're going to put them on follow-up. That's going to be by far the biggest group. The biggest chunk of these leads will be put into your CRM to follow up with. Because you're going to hear stories like, oh, we'll probably relist with the same agent, or we already have an agent in mind. We don't know what we're going to do. We're going to stay here. But very often that's just a smokescreen. Or they're just really disappointed and confused and angry and just kind of don't know who to trust or what to do. You know, they're just like, fuck it, I'm not dealing with this. Okay. Those are still good leads. They will just require some nurturing and some building of relationship and connection before they convert. Majority of your listings from expireds and pretty much from any source of lead will require some type of follow-up. Okay? So then the next step is put them in the sequence, and you have that. You have the expired plus, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So just follow the sequence. Keep in touch, keep in touch, keep in touch, keep in touch. Even with those, you don't reach. So let's say you call, nobody answers, or you don't have a phone number, or they're on a do not call list and you choose not to call, which is fine. You don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
So the second step is try texting. See if you can fire off a quick text. Super simple. Next thing you're going to do is do the visit. See if you can reach them. If that doesn't work, you mail them and you keep trying. If you can't reach them the first time, you keep trying, you keep trying, you keep trying while the sequences kick in. Now, which sequence should you use? If you can mail them, mail them. If you have their mailing address, which in most cases you do, right? You know where they live, you know where the property is. If you have their email, sometimes you can get their email, try emailing them. If you have their cell number, call them, text them, send them a little video. Hey, this is Adan with ABC Real Estate. Sorry, your house didn't sell. It's kind of a bummer. But if you're still interested, if you still think you would be better off selling, getting a good price for it, please reach back to me, text back to me. Let's talk. Short, simple, personable, quick.
That's actually great.
Yeah. And you can send it right from your phone. Just record it. And you know, it's even more powerful when you're in front of their property saying, you got a lovely home. I'm really surprised it didn't sell. If you're still interested, if you still have to get a good price for it, I'm confident we can get it done. Let's sit down, let's talk. Okay?
Great.
This is where the money will be. This is where the listings are. It's in your follow-up. There are agents out there who hit the expired, they do the first step, and then they drop the ball. Or they drop the ball too soon. I had some expireds. The kind of a general rule, and this varies based on area and other factors, but it can take up to 5 to 15 contacts, follow-up contacts, before the lead converts. I had somebody do my follow-up for months because I figured I'd rather follow up and keep in touch than lose an opportunity to get a listing because I just dropped the ball.
Right.
Even if they tell me at the beginning we're not moving. Now, if you just keep following up, and you're clear, they don't want to move, they don't want to sell, you don't want to just collect leads. You want the conversions. But it's hard to predict upfront who's going to list and who won't. There's no clear formula. And you know why? It's not because they're lying or anything. It's because they don't know. They're confused. It is a big decision. And if it didn't work the first time, they have no guarantee it's going to work the second time. Okay?
Right.
Any questions so far, Adan?
No, I think you pretty much answered. I think my biggest concern, like I said, was the do not call list.
There's not much you can do there.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, some agents call, but you know the rules. You can get in trouble. So
Absolutely.
you got to use your judgment. I can't give you legal advice, obviously.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your broker can, your attorney can, and then you use your judgment. But the rules are the rules. I can't bend them. There's no magic like, here is how you work around the do not call list. There's no such thing.
Just simply.
And if you're willing to call, you're willing to take the risk.
Right. So I think the question was answered. Either try the door knocking, the face-to-face, and if not, just automatically put them on the mailing, email, or text message.
I can tell you from my personal experience, doing this for over 20 years, face-to-face is still the fastest and easiest way to build connection with somebody.
Right.
Think about it this way. We're having almost like a face-to-face conversation, obviously. I mean, I'd love to be in LA right now. I could do this as a recording. I could do this as an email. I could do this as a letter. There's a book. There are all kinds of ways I can convey this information to you. But being able to actually talk to somebody, look them in the eye, have that belly to belly, is by far the fastest, easiest way to build that connection. And without that connection, you're screwed. You need to have that trust and connection, especially with someone like an expirer who is a little bitter and a little confused and doesn't trust a whole lot, you know? So go see them in person if you can.
Right.
Even if it means sometimes you got to go on the weekend. Like Saturday mornings, great window. More people are home. They're easier to get hold of. So if you go from like 9 to 12, perfect opportunity to reach people. Now I know LA is a bitch because everything is an hour away. It's so, I know the drive there, dude. My average year, 70,000 miles driving.
Sounds about right.
It's no joke. And
Yeah.
I get it, traffic and all. I lived there for 25 years, so I know. But like they say, you got to do what you got to do. And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. If that's what your competition has to do to get a listing, that's the same thing. But the cool thing is, if you start deploying all these funnels where you try the personal conversation, phone call, text, video, email, direct mail, all these things together open up these channels. And on top of it, if you have the opportunity to actually talk to them, you're golden. You're good. Because what you want is two factors. There are two components that need to be in place. One, of course, is a motivated seller. Because if they don't want to move, if they don't have a problem, if they don't have a huge desire to live somewhere else, none of that matters. You don't have a motivated seller, you don't have anything. But if you have somebody who's still interested in moving, and you have these tools to build a connection with them, build a relationship with them, that's a winning formula. That's the combo. That's the magic. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, my man. So what else? How are we doing on time? We have a few more minutes. What else can I help you with?
In terms of the follow-up, I know you mentioned anywhere from 5 to 15. I haven't integrated either video or really text message even. Mm-hmm. It's really just been mail piece. I try to find also their email and either try to put them on an expired drip or whatnot. But in comparison to canceled listings, what is your take in terms of, is it a different approach, an expired to a canceled listing, or what is your take on that?
Absolutely same. It's a great question, by the way. Same approach. Everything is the same. Whether you're working new expireds, old expireds, cancel listing, all the same. You're treating them all the same. Now, there might have been a reason why they cancel, and sometimes that reason is they just don't want to sell anymore. But you can't assume that unless you know, and until you know, you treat them as a good lead.
Okay.
Same with expireds. Until you know what the circumstances are, what their desire is, what their core driving emotion is, what is the problem, what is their plan, how realistic they are, how motivated they are, you don't know. So you assume they want to move, they want to sell, they're nice people, they're motivated, they want to work with me. Those are basic assumptions. But the approach is the same. And then as far as your follow-up, you want to incorporate all these channels, all these communication channels. You text them once in a while. Hey, there's a new listing in the area. 1234 Oak Street just went up for sale. You text them a little picture. Or, hey, a home just sold in the area. Or just a simple one. Would you still like to sell? Or have you given up on the dream of living somewhere else? Simple stuff like that. Keep it really simple.
Yeah,
because at the end, it is not the follow-up itself. It's the fact that they see your name, that your face comes up, that they get a piece of mail or an email from you or a text from you. It's the repetition that creates familiarity.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
It's just like when you came aboard of the Expired Plus. How did we meet, you and I? Probably maybe on YouTube.
Right.
Right? You saw one of my videos, then you checked that out, then you sign up for my emails, you got a couple of emails, maybe you came to a webinar. It was the repetition where you suddenly realized that crazy dude with a crazy accent has some cool stuff to share and it's helpful. And then after a while, you had enough trust in me to pull the trigger and buy the Expired Plus and come on board. Right?
Right.
Same thing. But notice that it was probably more than one channel. There must have been a video. There was probably an email. Maybe you're a member of Rockstars on Facebook. All these channels built trust between you and I, built connection between you and I.
Right.
Same thing. But it's because what I teach you guys is not selling, it's human psychology. And because the foundation of you getting this business is trust. If they like you, if they trust you, if they respect you, and if they're motivated, that's the winning formula right there.
The trusted process. Yep.
Yeah. So you build that trust. Now, sometimes they can happen very quickly and happens very organically. That's possible. But if it doesn't happen right away, no need to get discouraged. It just takes a little more time. Because if you're generating leads every day, if you're feeding the machine every day, some will convert right away, some will take a little longer. But because you're constantly feeding from the funnels into your follow-up system, you know that some will convert now, some will convert a little later, some will never convert. But because there is no easy way to decipher who's going to do what when, until you have very honest and open conversations with those people, which is really the core of your follow-up. That's where the conversion and the magic really happens when you actually talk to them. You just keep feeding it. And you want to feed it from 3 or 4 really good, solid sources. And you want to master those sources to a point where you can predictably build a business plan around it, where you can project it. And more importantly, next year, let's say you decide to scale it. You say, I want to double to 100,000. I want to go for 200,000. What would it take?